We are working on a 2D hack and slash game which has Parkour-like platforming, and the game is set in an Indian Cyberpunk world because all the animations are hand-drawn. But we never really developed something of this scale. Like, this is our first game of this scope. But when we were doing research, when we came to find is कि Indian swords were considered the best cutting swords.
Hi everybody, welcome to episode 4 of Bad Controller Podcasts. Starting with this episode, we'll also have special guest interviews. We have our first guest today, so it's not just Pawan and me. The idea is to have these incredible people come onto our episode and share their creations, their insights, their stories, all of course related to the gaming industry. Thanks for being with us through our podcast journey so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Very excited to do this. So today we have with us Sidharth or Sid of Rekaal Games. Sid is developing an indie game, and I'll let him do his own intro as well as what he's been working on. So Sid, thanks for doing this. First of all, we're very excited to have you here. And yeah, would you mind giving us a brief intro about yourself and about what you're developing?
Thank you, Pawan. First of all, thank you guys for having me here. Like, this is a great opportunity, I will say. So my name is Sidharth Bansal, and I'm co-founder of a studio. It's called Rekaal Games. So it's co-founded by me and my younger brother. So we started as everyone plays video games. So we started as playing video games as kid, and later
Yeah,
found out we can make our own games. So we're like,
nice.
let's try it. So slowly, that's how we build. And right now we are working on a 2D hack and slash game which has
Hmm.
Parkour-like platforming, and the game is set in an Indian cyberpunk world. So
Nice.
we are very specific on this, that the game is set in an Indian cyberpunk. So
Nice.
generally when we talk about cyberpunk, like, it's either
It's
inspired from
Western.
American
Yeah,
culture,
Hamesha.
Japanese
Correct.
culture, or Korean culture. uh,
Right.
it's not really relevant. Like, many themes in the story narrative is not relevant to Indian society. So we're
Yeah.
like, we all Indians, gamers especially, have this dream to make a game on Indian culture
Yeah.
somewhere, like down
Yeah.
their age, throughout
Yeah.
their
We
life they
wanted
have this
GTA
aim.
India. We wanted Assassin's Creed
Something.
India. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
could be like something Indian, and it has to be a game. So we also would like the same. Like, we want to use Indian culture कि किसी तरह
Yeah.
से हम इंडिया पे गेम बनाए. And we were like
Very
कि
cool.
um thinking when we decided this project, like, the idea was that whether we should go with ancient India or more futuristic. So whenever
Mm.
we talk about India के ऊपर कोई game, like an Indian
Yeah.
game, so it's mostly, we think कि it's set in a fantasy world, fantastical monsters and those kind, like ancient times, sort of like that.
Correct.
So we're like कि let's try something else. Like, whenever we talk about Indian games, it's always like कि ancient times में. So we're like कि let's go in future. And cyberpunk is like something which everyone is quite excited about in a sense. And abhi, in present times, we are already in a cyberpunk society somewhere.
Yeah.
It's subjective, but
Yeah.
somewhere
Yeah. We're
like
getting
things
there.
are very cyberpunk already. So like,
Yeah.
let's make like things which are
Nice.
relevant to Indian society.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things when we see, like कि यार ये तो हमारे आसपास पड़ोस में होता है ऐसा, या ऐसा यहाँ
Yeah.
पे like a stall of chai, like टपरी या चाय
Correct.
की,
Correct.
those
Yeah.
kind of things. So
Absolutely.
those kind of things make you feel relevant,
Yeah.
things which all Indians can relate to somewhere.
So when
So
did
that's the
you
idea.
Yeah, when did you, so you started the studio with your brother. When did you
Yeah.
start it? Like, what's the timeline and like, what's the background? Like, how did you know, how did you have sort of the skill set? Did you study computer engineering or graphic design or story? Like, where did it come from?
So we were always into creative things because cartoons, video games influence has been there since childhood. So we
Yeah,
just got into drawing, and from there I discovered Photoshop, and we're like, animation is something which we can make our career in. Then I was
nice.
like, I found this article as a kid on internet that 6 tools which can help you make your own games without knowledge of programming. I discovered
Nice.
Unity.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, this is something which happened back in 2013 actually, like when
Okay.
we were in school only.
Yeah.
So that's where we discovered Unity. So वहाँ से क्या, like my younger brother, he's more creative and he's totally into like artist, like 2D drawings, and he's completely into like sketching, traditional painting, digital
Yeah.
painting, animation, those kind of things. So he was doing a project for someone making spaceships for a 2D game, and I was like, I can use this to learn game development when I discovered
Nice.
Unity. So
Yeah.
that's how we got into it. Then we took some projects here and there, and then the college happened. So
Yeah.
like those kind of things happened down the line, slowly. So it was never like we will form it into a complete studio. It was
Yeah.
more like a thing which we were doing. And when we got into
Mm.
college, so I studied animation,
Yeah.
animation and multimedia. So that was like one of the things which happened. Later, after graduating from college, I had some like life things happen, and some years went by. But down the road, this feeling always stuck with me, like due to some life issues, life things. I was away from my career for about 3 years, but I always had this feeling that something is missing. At a point, I was like, I always wanted to make games, like a big scale game in a sense, because making games is also very subjective kind of thing. Like you can make a small game like Angry Birds these days in one day only. So
Yeah.
I always had this feeling कि कोई थोड़ी थोड़ी बड़ी स्केल की गेम बनानी है. So that feeling like brought me back into game development, and I
Mm.
asked my brother that maybe we can give it another shot and make our game which we always wanted to, because we have always been a fan of Devil May Cry. So we always wanted 2D में कुछ Devil May Cry style कुछ, because
That's
my
the
brother is very
inspiration.
artistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the inspiration. So he's very artistic.
Yeah.
So I was like, we can use your skills and your creativity and your like drawing के skills to make a 2D game. Like we never
Mm.
thought कि हम 3D में कुछ बनाएंगे. It was never a thing. We always were like कि 2D animation में कुछ बनाया
Yeah,
जाए.
yeah, and like it's a simple like yeah, it's 2D, but it's still there's a lot of creativity that goes into it, right? I remember like one of the first games on the PS3, I think, was a game called Shank, which was also a 2D
Ah,
hack and slash. It was
very accurate,
such
man.
a fun game.
Very accurate.
Right? And so like when I was looking at the sketches and what you guys are developing, I had a little bit of a flashback of like that sort of a game, and like अगर
So
वैसा कुछ
nice.
मिल जाए in an Indian setting and like with the you guys creating it, that'd be really exciting.
Man, you are very accurate on that. Like Shank is one of the inspiration for the game, because
Yeah,
Devil May Cry तो जो main inspiration है, that is like a AAA game, right?
yeah,
But Shank is more like close to, like in
yeah,
2D में है वो भी, so in that
correct.
essence. So we were also like as kids, we were like जब Shank आई थी, we were like wow,
Yeah, it's
कि
such a
what kind
good
of game
game.
is this? So
Yeah,
much violence
yeah.
and
Did
all
y'all
that.
did y'all did y'all make any other games, Siddharth, like board games or simpler games, mobile games?
Simpler games, yes.
Or
Mobile games. Some we were more into client work. So we have some game jam, the games which we developed during game jams. Some games we developed from clients. So it's mostly have been client work, e-learning games, those kind of things only. But we never really developed something of this scale, like the whole scope. So this is
Yeah,
our first game of this scope. So we have like throughout the years we have gained experience and knowledge कि क्या करना चाहिए, क्या नहीं करना चाहिए. So that is helping us somewhere to keep up with the development. But there has been a lot of things जो we never expected कि will happen during the development and those
yeah.
kind of things.
Like what? Like anything exciting you want to share with us?
Okay, so one of the major thing is, although we are still a small team, but
Yeah,
like my role is as a game producer. Like I'm
mm,
the game designer and game producer,
yeah,
and among other things like marketing and PR guy and all those kind of things, I handle those kind of.
yeah,
So as a game producer, I was like, I'm responsible for maintaining the things which go during the development, that whether things are being done or not, what are the
yeah,
blockers. So I realized that you have to be very accurate. Like it sounds like a very simple and obvious thing, but when I got into this role for the first time for a game of this scope,
mm,
I was during the time I realized that I meant something and my programmer is assuming it as something else, or I'm trying to convey something, but the artist is seeing it in a different perspective. So I have to be very accurate in that, because uh, every person has a different vision, or you can say how they process things and how they understand things. So you
Yeah.
have to be very accurate and apt that this is what we want or this is what we are trying to do. So
Right.
with time I learned and started making more like sketches or some images when I talk with my programmer that this is how the behavior of this character will be here.
Yeah, and it
That is
needs
something.
it needs constant not supervision, but like you need to be involved in the step, right? You can't just be like
Right.
build this, develop this, and then like just wait for the end
Just
product. Like from the outside, people like lay people like about development at least. We don't know these things, we don't see these things. So I think it's really like fascinating to get an inside look in how this works.
So the three of you, Siddharth, is this your jobs or do you have day jobs?
No, this is our full-time thing only. We have been doing for almost last 2 years. We are not really like taking any projects. We do pick some here and there, but only if they are small in scope. Like if we have to get it done in 1 week or maybe 3 weeks or something.
Yeah.
That's only because if we take something, then it puts the hold on the development. So that kind of challenge is very constant in a sense. So right now we're just doing this thing only for almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
Somewhere on and off, the development has been on and off sometimes.
Yeah.
But this is the main job.
What does the roadmap look like?
Right now, like we're just making a demo basically. So the idea is that we get a vertical. It's called a vertical slice basically. When we talk in game development terms, it's a vertical slice of the whole game. So an easy way to understand a vertical slice is that let's imagine you have a whole cake, which is representing a whole game, and you are making a slice. Like each layer of the cake is representing like UI, gameplay, music,
Yeah.
graphics, those kind of things, and you are making a slice of that whole cake in
Yeah.
final quality. So it's like a MVP.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense, it's MVP, but it's more like refined, like final game ka refined demo, like a
Correct.
small version of the
Yeah.
whole refined game.
Yeah.
So that's our idea that this is what we are developing. This is our vision. This is what we want to develop, and then raise funding basically from a publisher. So that we can fully develop the whole game, because a 3 people team cannot really make this scale of game.
Right, it's bootstrapped right now. It's all sort of out of
It's bootstrapped
pocket
right now,
and yeah. Okay,
Just
no,
from the
that's
things we have saved,
yeah, yeah,
keeping
of
our
course.
expenses low,
That's really cool. Like it's the whole entrepreneurial journey of how you
Yeah, like,
support yourselves, and then you, like you were saying, create an MVP, and then you put that out, and then you sort of wait for the response and use that as for the
yeah,
funding.
that's
So no,
that's like the
absolutely.
scary part. Like
Yeah.
we're doing it for last 2 years, and almost it will be like 2.5 years by end of this year. So, but we are
What's
hoping
the
that
support? What's the
yeah.
support been like from family, friends, and such?
From family, like from like the previously, like when we were getting into it, it was very challenging. Like just to convince, Indian same
Yeah.
thing, like convincing Indian parents to get into creative things and all
Yeah.
that. So that has always been a challenge. Like convince them, they were like do some accounting or some CA
Yeah.
work, maybe, do commerce and all that. But yeah, throughout the years it has like changed somewhere. Like they also understand it somewhere now better. Not that much, because like it's very technical things for them, but they are okay with it now. Like they are like just like let them do and try this
Yeah.
thing, because like one of the thing, they, even if they never really understood it as when we were kids, but they know that we always wanted to do something like in games.
Correct.
So somewhere it is like a little challenging still,
Yeah, of
like
course.
here and there,
Challenges still will remain,
but
otherwise the entrepreneurial journey
it's fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're
It's
Yeah, matter of time before they see it all paying off, right?
yeah,
So,
I hope so.
yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I want to ask you about the name. So Rekaal Games is like I like
Yeah.
the name, and then Ghost Yantra is the name of the game. So like where do the names sort of come from? Do they have a meaning? Like what's the inspiration? What's the story there?
Yeah, like both things actually have a story related to it. One of the things we want that like we are gamers since childhood. We have grown up with the high quality things, like acha content. So we also want that what we develop, it has a high quality, whatever resources we have.
Yeah.
And we try to put some creativity or some spin to everything in a sense. So yeah, both things have a story. The main purpose is like the Carl वाला जो we all wanted कि Indian जो theme है, like let's play something around that. So it's like Carl in Hindi you can say it's like means time, and another meaning is death.
Yeah.
So Carl is like representation of death in a sense. We're like कि Indian gaming context में it's like we put re in front of it, so it's like re-death and rebirth. It's like a cycle, right?
Nice.
So it's like Recall is like in games also you die and you start again, you die and start again. So it's like that Recall. It's a cycle.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Kalam does mean time in Tamil as well.
Nice.
Okay, yeah.
Kalam.
Oh, in Tamil, yeah. Yeah, so it's like the same
same
spectrum. Yeah. So that's the idea behind Recall Games. So it sounds cool also in a sense. Also, it's like for Americans or for people outside India, it's like they will be easily able to recall it.
Correct.
You know.
Nice.
Regarding Ghost Yantra, I will not talk too much about it because it's deeply integrated with the narrative of the game.
Okay, we'll wait for that.
But for that also, we were like, it has to be unique. So Yantra is like the machine.
Okay.
Yantra is the representation of machine. When we talk Yantra word in Hindi or Sanskrit, Yantra is like the machine. So it's like a ghost machine of a character and the narrative around the whole game. In the game narrative also, when we say Indian Cyberpunk now, a lot of gamers or even the world somewhere assumes that we're just sporters and we're just making an Indian game because India की games world में exist नहीं करती, right? So some people do assume that, but that was not the idea with us. Like we wanted कि ऐसा ना हो कि सिर्फ Indian Cyberpunk बोल दिया हमने, that we just say that it's Indian Cyberpunk, but the game has a narrative which is relevant to Indian ancient teachings, philosophies, and those kind of things are part of narrative also. So it's not Indian on the skin, but even in the narrative, it is Indian.
So there's going to be a nice storyline that you're going to be linking with the whole thing.
Yeah, because people assume that Indian बोल दिया बस और बेच रहे Indian के नाम पे, but we want कि it is a good game. First, we want to develop a really high quality अच्छी game. And then we are like, you support us if you like the game. We want we are actually developing a good thing. We want to develop this thing in high quality. And ऐसी गेम बनाई जाए इंडिया से जो इंटरनेशनल मार्केट की इंडी गेम्स के साथ compete कर सके, like somewhere on the level of them, like Hollow Knight, like one of the biggest. So if we can stand in front of those kind of games in terms of quality, from India, so that's like our aim कि international market की जो indie games हैं उनकी like आसपास तो आए कहीं ना कहीं, like it's quite challenging in itself, but we're like let's give it a shot. We just don't want कि India से game है तो वही support करो, like that's not what we want. We want कि Indian game but high quality. So
there's been a few games around Indian themes and Indian mythologies and such, right? And there's also been a few controversies tied to it. So while coming up with your storyline, did you find yourselves having to tread carefully so you don't hurt certain sentiments of certain communities, or did you face that?
Totally, yeah. That's one of the things which are very cautious of. That's why we are not having any gods or Indian cosmic beings or deities in the game. Like the story is not around that because that is a very sensitive part which we don't want to have any play of our own. So we are refraining from that completely. Like with all honesty and with our purity, we want to make a good thing. Even despite that, there could be some people of a certain community which we unknowingly could hurt. So we want to avoid that. So to avoid that, we are like making the whole game. It's more like our character, like right. So the character is a mercenary. So he has a mission and which he has to accomplish. So around that mission, around those intentions of the antagonist of the game, those kind of things are just Indian philosophies. So like their objective is based on Indian philosophies. Just they're not like naming any certain community or those kind of things. We're totally avoiding that.
Speaking of people, we do have our communities of gamers, and Rohan, I was thinking this might be a good time to step into some of the questions that have come through from our fellow gamers and communities.
Yeah, so we do have a Bat Controller forums and Facebook groups as well. So there's some, of course, the forum knew that we're going to get to interview Rekaal Games. So they had a few questions. I'm just going to read out a few. The first one is, since hack and slash and platformer combined is a great mix, however, Ghost Yantra is different from its well-known cousins like Hollow Knight, Castlevania, and some other games. So basically, how is it different?
Yeah, so the idea is that we're taking hack and slash and adding parkour platforming to the gameplay. Like
Yeah.
those are our two main gameplay elements. So to make it easier to understand, we are primarily inspired from Devil May Cry for the hack and slash. Like we want to make a stylish combat game. Main inspiration for the hack and slash is Devil May Cry. And for parkour, like platforming, we are very specific that we are inspired from Prince of Persia. So there's a Prince of Persia used to have that run along the wall, vertical run along the wall, horizontal run along the wall, and the pillars climbing, those kind of things. So we are inspired from Prince of Persia when it comes to platforming. It has parkour kind of platforming, not like just platforming where you're just jumping on the platform. It's just different than like from the likes of Castlevania, Hollow Knight, or Blasphemous. So one of the thing is that our game has multiple weapons. So when we say compare it with the Hollow Knight, so Hollow Knight is completely like a masterpiece when it comes to Metroidvania. It's not a hack and slash game. It's primarily a Metroidvania, like a very, very, very good Metroidvania, one of the best. But our game is not Metroidvania. So that is one of the key difference. Although the game Ghost Yantra is going to have branching paths in the game, so player is free to choose their own path, but it's going to converge at the same destination.
Yeah.
So we want to give player freedom that they choose their own path. We don't want कि ये रास्ता है, इस पे आप जा रहे हो बस, like you keep going on this path,
too
and
linear.
it feels like very linear. It feels like very boring and feels like you are just playing someone's set piece which someone has put in front of you. It feels like that. So we wanted to give player freedom that we give you option that these are 3 paths. You can go on any of them. Each comes with their own challenges and rewards, and it will lead to the same destination. So you are not in a worry that you might miss something.
Got it.
Here the game is linear, but the multiple paths are there.
That's cool.
Multiple weapons are there, right? And it's linear, multiple weapons, and
I'm saying, love the fact that there's multiple paths to take in a side scroller. So
because we usually feel like एक ही path है and you're just going on that. So like, and that's where we are using the power of the gameplay. Like, let's say imagine that you have 3 paths. On first path you have more enemies and all the hack and slash element could be there. That's just for example. On second path it's just like you have more platforming skills where you need to be very skilled in the platforming, and on the third path you could have like the mix of both.
So there's replayability value also is nice.
Playability also, and the variety also. So that's
there.
Like one of the idea.
Nice.
So we're combining those elements, which makes it different than other counterparts.
And we have another question. Which game engine and tools are being used to develop the game?
Okay. So we're using Unity primarily for the development. For us, it was the right choice for our game. And apart from that, we are using Krita for the animation, because all the animations are hand drawn. So we are going with Krita for the animation, and all the like concept and those kind of things are being done in Clip Studio. So it's another software, like a sketching and drawing software. It's developed by Japanese developers. Very quite famous in the community. It's called Clip Studio Paint. So those are the main tools which we're using. And apart from that, like management वगैरह के लिए like another tools, but for creative parts and development, backend tools are there, but for main tools are these like Krita, Clip Studio, and Unity.
We spoke a lot about what was the source of inspiration, but then someone was curious to ask a nice question of what kind of research methodologies are used.
I have a lot of, it's just one of the challenge we actually faced while doing the research is ki in India, like since we cannot really travel to all the throughout the India, so we narrowed down, like when we say Indian cyberpunk, so we narrowed Delhi is one of the inspiration, and since we are from Punjab, right? So Punjab is one of the inspiration for the architecture of the game.
Yeah.
But that's for the architecture part. Is area mein, since like we are from northern side of India, so we are primarily taking northern side of architecture.
Yeah.
For the backgrounds and everything. But when we started doing research on weapons also, so weapons also we want ki Indian weapons we want to keep like Indian hi ho wo. So that's where we face the most challenge, because on internet there are very limited resources available. When you search for Indian weapons, I can maybe get a brief about them, but you cannot really find the whole history about them. So it's very challenging. One of the interesting fact which we found while doing research on Indian weapons, especially Indian swords, because it's hack and slash, right? So it has to have swords. So we found that it is very common belief that katana is one of the best sword in the world, right? But when we were doing research, when we came to find is ki Indian swords were considered the best cutting swords.
Nice. Okay.
Like, you know, there are different kind of swords. So there are piercing swords, like the one which are used by knights. It's like more good for piercing, like because it's sharp on the front.
Yeah.
So there's this segment called cutting swords, which are used for cutting. And katana is considered one of the best in the world, because Japanese have preserved their history very well and all of their cultural things. And all the Japanese media is also very famous. In history, it is actually well recorded that Indian swords were the best when it comes to cutting. And people don't really know about it. And we're like, wow, this is a very good thing which we can just maybe sprinkle somewhere.
There's going to be a lot to learn from the game.
Yeah, history, man. Like, so because when trade used to happen, those documents are available. Ki Indian swords, ki how to make Indian swords, and those kind of documents are still like more common. So that is one of the challenge we are really facing, ki because we also want to keep it as accurate as it could be also, you know. So it's very tedious and very tiring sometimes कि कितना हम सही उसमें कर पा रहे interpret, and how much we have to refrain where we are like little more not sure कि ये सही है factually कि नहीं. So we're like, let's refrain from this if it's not solidified that much.
Got it.
So it is quite challenging, because internet is our main source only.
Of course.
Because we cannot really travel to places. So yeah, internet is the main area where we are like researching.
So as of today, Sidharth, what is your biggest challenge? I mean, you've done a lot of work till now, but going forward, what's the biggest challenges you'll see yourselves facing?
This is a very, very good question. Like, as indie developers, like it's very like challenges never end. Honestly, like when we see development, it's like a big thing, and there are challenges for us in every segment. When it comes to development, when it comes to creation part, then marketing part, then spreading marketing, like spreading the word about the game. Like challenges in every department, you can say.
Yeah.
So it is quite challenging. When we come to development, it's like since we are a small team, we have only one programmer. Like he's taking care of the whole development of the game. So let's say we get stuck in somewhere that ये चीज चाहिए हमें. Like we want to be very specific. This is something which we want in the game. So he has to take out separate time to make that thing. You know, when it comes to art, we have only one artist. So all the visuals which you have seen till now is done by a single artist. Like he's also like the writer of the game, a narrative and everything is finalized by him also, and he's the visual part of the game also. So all the animations, concept art, character design, environment art, he's doing that. So that is why it is taking us so long basically to develop the game. So that is one challenge, that we have very limited on the resources basically. Apart from that, when it comes to marketing, so we don't have any budget for marketing right now. So we are just relying on social media marketing, basically posting in different communities, groups, just to raise awareness about the game. And one of the biggest challenge coming in future, which I saw, which we can say we are going to have, is how we are going to expand the team basically. because we don't have resources, right? And without resources, we cannot fully develop this game. Like we have a whole plan for the game, that this is the kind of things which we want in the game. These are number of areas, number of enemies, number of weapons. There is a whole
Yeah.
story which we want to deliver. So we want to expand the team basically, but we don't have resources. So that is where we are relying on a publisher. Hopefully manage to find a publisher from whom we can raise funding to expand the team. Talk about publishers, right? There is a difference between investor and publisher. So investor is more like someone who see your project and they give you the amount only.
Yeah.
But a publisher is someone who help us not just in funding, but in other areas also. Let's say we are facing some technical challenge that can be helped by the publisher, or we are not able to find suitable talent for the game to create something. So that's where they can help. They can help in localizing the game. So
Yeah.
publisher takes other, like they operate in
Other
the
responsibilities
game market
also.
only.
Yeah.
The other responsibilities. So funding is one of the main thing which we want to get from them.
Right.
But for them also it is, so what they see is that one of the thing that they see is the game, like the demo
Yeah.
itself, ki what exactly we want to develop and what we have developed already, like a small segment of the game. And rest, one of the key factor is that which they consider is like how much audience we have already built. So it's not like a primary thing.
Yeah.
But if we already have a fan base going, let's say we have a population of 15,000 members who are already interested in the game, they are all continuously following the game.
Right.
So that really gives them a more solid impact that yes, these guys already have a traction going on of the audience, and the people already want to play this game, so they become more interested in the game. Ki, let's just invest in this game basically. So that is one of the challenge we.
How do you get to that, like how do you get to show your publisher that like people are interested? What are the metrics? Where do you pick up these metrics from?
Primarily social media following, that is one giveaway, but the key factor which many publishers consider are the wish list of Steam basically. Because
Okay.
on social media it's more like key to come and go and that kind. Key, some people are getting to see it, some people are not. But Steam wish list is something which really help us to show that these many people are interested in the game. Because what
Okay.
happens is basically with Steam wishlist is when you launch the game, Steam basically sends email to all the people who have wishlisted the game that this game has launched. So that is a very extreme, crucial, important factor to show that these many people are interested in the game. Let's say the game releases and we have a wishlist of 60,000 people, right? That's the regular number. So Steam will email all the 60,000 people that this game, which
Game
was
is
in your
released
wish
now.
list,
Yeah.
has
Yeah,
released.
of course. Yeah.
So they will get to know about it.
Correct.
One of the biggest contributor to this, publisher will be like, yes, they already have built a wish list, and that really helps to.
Super. I use the wishlist a lot on Steam.
Yeah.
I always
Okay.
wishlist games.
So
And yeah,
you're
I'm sure
basically
I'm going
helping
to.
all the developers who are developing their game.
Great.
It
I
really
mean, I
helps.
wishlist games that are good, so yeah. So
So
games
that
I
is
look
very
forward
good.
to. Yeah.
So
And I'm
wishlists
sure
are the
I'll
biggest
go
thing for us.
wishlist Ghost Yantra as well now.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm doing it like
That will be one of the. Even if you don't follow us on any social media or anything, wishlists are one of the key factor how you can support us, like right now during the development phase. That is one of the biggest way. But just that wishlist, one thing which you can just take 2 minutes to do, that is like biggest contributor
No,
in a
absolutely.
sense.
And I want
Yeah. I remember when Raji Ancient Epic was releasing as well, and Venba, the game that launched
Venba, yeah.
last year. Yeah, so all of those games, I mean, of course, I wishlisted and I was following the development on various social media apps. So that's really a good way to
Yeah,
keep
to
people
support, yeah.
updated, right?
like a
of,
shout
what's
out
happening.
to gaming communities, not just limited to the Indian gaming community, but gamers like Sid and Rekaal Games need your support. That support looks super simple, doesn't take any money, doesn't take anything, just takes a few minutes of your time, right? It's basically going on Steam and just finding the game and just adding it to wishlist. We'll add links to this in the description below. And so like it really feels like, say, you're putting a lot of soul into this game, right? You want a high quality game, you want it to be authentic. You're not just making something that will just sell. You're making something with a lot of heart and soul and effort in it. And so for us to support the Indian gaming community, I'm totally on board. I'm going to follow your journey along. I'm going to wishlist the game on
Thank you,
Steam
man.
now. I'm going to have my friends do it, and to the people who are watching this, and to our community who's been super supportive, please follow and wishlist Sid's game. I really want to see this
Thank you,
game
man.
develop fully. I want you to have the funding, and I want you to like create this whole thing, and I want to play this futuristic like Indian cyberpunk with its own unique style, and like with the super swords and like all of those things.
We are totally up to it. Like one just one thing, I don't know if we talked about it or shared it before or not, but one of the thing which we're implementing in the game is something which you might have never seen in any other game, because it's very integral part of Indian culture. You must have seen outside our home we always hang a
Right.
nazar battu.
Yeah, for the superstition evil eye.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like a face of a
Right.
rakshas or something, so to prevent from evil and
Yeah.
negative energies, right? So in ancient Indian, throughout our present times also, we have something of that in
Nice.
some form, outside
Yeah,
our
yeah,
home,
we have,
outside our
correct.
buildings, to present in a spiritual form, right? So we are using that and putting it in a technical device which is protecting a building. So let's say you are entering a high security area in the game, and that device is protecting, like just outside the building that device is hanging, and it is physically
Nice.
protecting
Like a
the building.
shield.
So you have to disable it by hacking
Yeah.
it or something, and then you will
That's
be able
cool.
to
Okay.
enter it, we were like, when we are trying to find what are the things which are very relevant to all India, because India, when we say, it's very diversified, and just very there are a lot of things which might be relevant to northern India, but not that much to southern India, or things which are relevant to eastern India, not relevant to western India, right? But we found that Nazar Battu is something, although every culture have
Different
it in a
name. Yeah.
different name or something, but when we say evil eye kind of thing, so every culture in India has a form of it in one way or another. So like, this is a perfect
Yeah.
thing. We can use it to, like, as an actual
Yeah.
gameplay segment.
That's
You have
very
to hack
clever.
it before you can
Yeah.
enter the building.
That's nice.
So we were like very
Yeah.
happy to see
I
this is a
can't wait
good
to
idea.
see like all of these things that you've integrated into the game, and like I'm really just excited to see you come to the like completion of this journey. It's been great, Sid. Thank you so much for doing this with us.
Thank you.
We wish you the very best of luck, and I'll just give you both a like last
man.
60 seconds to have any finishing thoughts. Otherwise, like this has been great. I'm really excited. I've learned a lot about the game. And all the very best to you guys.
Thank you, man. Like, I really appreciate, but that's the main thing I will just say. I really appreciate you guys like
Right.
giving us the opportunity to talk
Yeah.
about the game. Like, we are really excited to like actually make it
Like
only,
it's our
in a
honor.
sense, because we always wanted to develop this kind of game as
Yeah.
a child. Like, this is one of the game which we got into game development because of this game, in a
Yeah.
sense. As a kid, we were like, we will make this kind
Wow.
of game
So
someday.
it's more than
2D
11 years in
hand-drawn
the
action
making,
game.
really. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Amazing.
Easily, because 2013 was when we started game
Yeah.
development, in a sense. So 2014 is
Yeah.
2024 we are in right now. So we're just very excited.
That's amazing.
Super. Thanks so much, Sidharth. And we'd love to have you back on our channel as the development goes on, to keep hearing updates
Definitely,
about
yeah.
you.
That will be really cool.
And guys watching, please go click on the link in the description and wishlist it to add it to your wishlist, add the game to your wishlist.
Thank you.
Good luck. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you, man.